discrimination against the children, everything that you can imagine. And why shouldn't they protect themselves? Why should? Isn't it the laws that are the problem here, that they're archaic in this day and age? I know they protect women too, and because more women are working in the workforce now and everything like that, and are making big salaries, and they come to you, I'm sure, too sometimes. But the bulk of the people who are in this situation are men, and men are suffering tremendously. And I think it's the only fair thing to do is to ask a woman for a prenuptial agreement to protect them in this day and age.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why they exist, and I think they are reasonable to request. That they certainly are.
Do you have any sympathy with the argument that Roy? I'm sorry to interrupt. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, actually I don't, and I'm kind of amazed at what you're saying, because as a woman getting divorced in New York, what my personal experience has been is the smarter you are, the less you're given. I think the divorce laws, and you can actually correct me on this, have changed for women in the state of New York. I did not get as much as I thought I was going to get.
Can I ask you why you think you're entitled to anything?
Because when my husband and I got married, and this will actually support some of your arguments, we made a conscious decision together that when we had children, I would give up my career for the time being, and I would stay home and raise the children. And that was our decision, not mine, not his. So when women don't get paid to stay home and raise their children, but if I went into your home to raise your children, I would get paid.
But how long do you want to be paid for? The rest of your life if you never get married again?
Well, until I know people say, what would you like? Yes, we all would like the ideal, but what is fair? So once my children are 23 years old, 24 years old, they've already graduated. So if you do this,
if the divorce takes place when your children are 1 year old, that means 20 years that you just sit back and get the money?
Yes, I have to raise the children.
Ever hear of daycare?
I have to be honest with you, I never had children so I could put them in daycare. I never had children so I can get an au pair. I never had children so someone else could raise them. I had children so I could raise them as their mother. And does it sound old-fashioned? Yes. But you know what? I have the best children in the world. Because I stayed home with my children, and I gave them the values that they needed and to succeed.
The divorce did change things, though, did it not? It does change things.
Yes, divorce changes things. Actually, what happened, and I really always feel sorry for my children with this, when my husband told the children that we were getting divorced, first of all, it was not something that I had wanted. So I kept saying, please, let's not tell the children or it's going to hurt them. And he kept saying, oh, no, no, kids are resilient. And it was almost as if he read a script that was rehearsed. And he kept saying to the kids, nothing will change. It's just that I won't live here. And everything changed. And even for years it was the same. And my children went through a lot of heartache, a lot of agony, and they would always bring it to his attention, but you said nothing would change.
Well, I think divorce changes everything, and that's the point. We just have a couple of minutes left. Let me just ask Jerry before the time is out. Practically speaking, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Practically speaking, if someone really insists on doing a prenup, I would suggest they get the number of a good marriage counselor, but they've come to you and they want to, practically, how do you do it in a way that's fair? Use that word fair. How would you help them to do it in a way that was fair for both of them, that would preserve the integrity of their marriage? What practical suggestions would you have for them? Okay.
Well, first of all, I'd say contemplate doing it enough in advance so that it could be discussed in a fair and sensible way. Number two, when you're thinking out the prenup, and the prenup's an interesting agreement in a way because you're not dealing with historical issues like you are in divorce, but with future issues that are speculative to some extent. Arrive at a graded approach where the longer the marriage, the more entitlement the other party has in your assets and your income. So for example, if you're married 5 years, it should increase. 10 years, increase more. Maybe even after 20 years, be as though there were no prenup altogether.
So you could phase this out. This agreement essentially has more of an impact earlier on and less of an impact as the marriage goes on?
Yes, absolutely.
So you could do it in a way that was somehow fair for both.
Yes.
But you'd be representing one of the two clients. You wouldn't be representing the couple, or how does that work?
No, you really, each side needs their own representation for the agreement to be really a binding
But it can
agreement.
be done. It can be done in a practical way that doesn't unduly disadvantage one person or another, and
Yes.
you could do it in a way that. And the key is to do it in advance. I think that's what you're saying. Is not to spring it on someone 2 weeks, but that if you plan on doing this, bring this up early on so that the other person goes into it with the proper
Right. Timing is critical, and the terms that you employ in the agreement are critical. And if the timing is sufficient and the terms are fair, it could be a very livable agreement.
One that people
where you
won't-
don't feel coerced.
And one that won't make people feel compelled to use it. That you're really convinced that if they have it and they paid you more than $12 to use it, they still won't. They'll still won't feel the need to use it.
I say if they have a good relationship, they're not going to.
They're not going to use it.
Absolutely not.
Do you have a question that you want?
No, I just want to say that I think men get a prenup. Get a prenup. I think we've just about run out of time for the show, Mel. I'd like to thank our guest tonight, Rose DiSiena. Thanks so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate you coming out tonight. And Jerry Wisselman, thanks so much for being our guest tonight.
It's my pleasure.
Mel, thank you for co-hosting as usual. You did a great job. I'd like to just mention to our friends watching, if you would like to volunteer for the show, you can at any time, or be a sponsor. We'd love to see you down here and sponsor us and be a volunteer. It would be awfully nice. We need some help. And for all us from Men's Net, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Take care.